world. Welcome back, Making It Nation. Welcome to another episode of Making It with Chris G, where we have conversations with people in the world of entertainment who are making it from behind the scenes to the spotlight, sharing their stories and insight to help you get one step closer to making it. Let's get this party started. We are in week 2 of the Nashville series, and we have an extra special treat for you today to get things kicked off a little differently, a little more Nashville Music City style. But first, thank y'all so much again for listening. I hope you enjoyed last week's interview with Eric Charles. Thanks to everyone who subscribes on iTunes and your favorite podcast apps. This podcast is absolutely free wherever podcasts are available. I really want to encourage you, please subscribe. It means the world to us and really helps us out. If you're able, please leave a little review, hopefully 5 stars, so we can keep this podcast coming back to you absolutely free every week and invite more and more wonderful guests to share their insights and stories with you. At the end of this episode, I'll share our iTunes review of the week. And if this is you, please send me a note so I can send you a special thank you for taking the time to leave that review. So last week, Eric had a ton of great insight and lessons to share with everyone. And I definitely recommend you check this podcast out and listen to it for yourself and listen and learn all the lessons and stories he has to share from in the music industry from the label perspective. So this week, instead of sharing a lesson from Eric's interview, I want to encourage you to check it out and listen to it personally. But I have a lesson to share that speaks to me a little personally, especially this week. So this week's lesson is to narrow your focus. A lot of times we want to do so much with the intention of doing good. And we spread ourselves really thin. And instead of doing a couple of things great, we're really just doing a bunch of things half-ass. I'm sure you've heard this before. There are only a few hours in the day. And you have to make sure those hours you also make time for yourself and your family. Don't lose yourself in the clutter of trying to please everyone and doing too much. One of my biggest faults is that I want to help everyone. And at the end of the day, you really don't help anyone because you're not able to give your full energy and full attention to do something great. You can only do so much at a time. I always say you can only do a couple things great at one time, but you can do a lot of great things over a lifetime. I've definitely done a lot of great things in my short career in the last 10 years in the music industry. And that's because I used to narrow my focus. And sometimes, you just can want to do so much and you spread yourself, like I said, you spread yourself thin. So I want to encourage you guys, narrow your focus and be great at 1 or 2 things at a time. Then when the time is right, believe me and trust me, your resources will grow and your team will grow. And that's the time when you expand and work on new projects. Being spread too thin only works so long until everything falls apart and people get upset with you, regardless of your intent of trying to do something good. So narrow your focus and be great at 1 or 2 things. That's my lesson for the week, and a lesson that I even myself need to remember every single day. So I hope this is something that resonates with you and something that you try to implement in your life to narrow your focus and try to be great at just a few things, 1 or 2 things. So let me tell you about today's guest. Today we are joined by Katherine Forbes. Katherine is still pretty new to the Nashville scene. She moved there after graduating college with no contacts and no leads for a job. She did exactly what you should be doing when moving to a new city, and she went out to meet as many people as possible and started establishing relationships. Just days after moving to Nashville, she landed an internship that led to a job with an artist management company, DS Management, that works with Alison Krauss, Sarah Jarosz, and many other wonderful artists. Katherine is an expert in marketing, social media, and web design. While in Nashville, she launched her company, Designing the Row. Recently, she self-published her first book, Market Your Music Online, a workbook for musicians. This is a wonderful book, and I highly recommend it. It's definitely very useful, and it really helps you organize your digital media marketing efforts for your artists and really for anyone. I think definitely want to recommend this book if you want to learn how to manage your social media and digital marketing better. So Katherine brought her friend along with her to the interview today, Alaina Stacy from the band Maybe April, who's a very talented singer-songwriter in Nashville. And I thought to get things kicked off a little bit more Nashville style since we're in our Nashville series. Alaina Stacy's going to play a song for you guys, a special acoustic performance. And if you like what you hear, you can find her band on maybyeapril.com. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here's a special acoustic performance by Alaina Stacy, followed by our interview with Katherine Forbes. Hope y'all enjoy.
It doesn't happen overnight. You just wake up one day, living someone else's life. I know, I should've known better, but when you're in love, nobody knows better. When you said jump, I asked you how high. It was never high enough, no matter how hard I tried. I never stopped once, I never asked why. When you said jump, I asked you how high, how high, how high. I asked you how high, how high, how high. I opened up, let my guard down. I put my trust in you, but I'm trusting myself now. You say you try anything to keep me here. I know love's blind, but my memory's clear. When you said jump, I asked you how high. It was never high enough, no matter how hard I tried. I never stopped once, I never asked why. When you said jump, I asked you how high. It's high enough, there'll never be enough for me I could ever give up. I never stopped once, I never asked why. When you said jump, I asked you how high. It was never high enough, no matter how hard I tried. I never stopped once, I never asked why. When you said jump, when you said jump, when you said jump, I asked you how high, how high, how high. I asked you how high, how high, how high. How high, how high. How high, how high.
So we just listened to your friend Alaina Stacy from Maybe April.
Yes,
Right?
isn't she amazing?
She's really good, super
Yes,
talented.
I love that voice.
Yeah. How'd you guys meet?
Well, I work for a management company, and Denise Stiff is the manager, and she introduced me to Alaina.
Okay.
And Alaina and I have been working closely together, and I just love her music.
Awesome. Well, you have a good ear.
Thank you.
What brought you to Nashville?
Well, when I was graduating college, someone told me that if I wanted to be in music, I needed to go to Nashville, LA, or New York.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, New York is too cold, LA is too far, so here I am in Nashville.
Nice. And you've been here how long now?
For 5 years.
Yeah. How are you liking it so far?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
It feels like home. It is home.
And home for you is in North Carolina, right?
Yes, I grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. From Raleigh to Nashville.
Yes.
So I was reading your bio a little bit, and in your bio you were saying that when you first moved here, you didn't really know anybody. So which is really cool because you're doing some cool things in town already. And what advice would you give to someone that moves to a brand new city, not knowing anyone, trying to get into the entertainment industry?
You just reach out to people. If you think someone is doing something cool, send them an email and ask to meet up. I knew nobody when I came here. My uncle lives about 2 hours away.
Okay.
And he connected me with friends of friends of friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I had some lunch meetings, and then people would say, well, I think you should meet so-and-so. And I just had lunch meetings, like weeks and weeks of lunch meetings. And eventually, actually not that long into it, maybe 3 weeks after I'd been here, I got the same email from 3 people, and they all forwarded me the email that Denise Stiff was looking for an intern.
Okay.
So after 3 weeks, I had met 3 people who sent me one email. So to me, it feels like it was meant to be, that I was meant to meet her.
Right.
So
3 people emailed you all about Denise?
Yes, all that same email.
Wow.
So I emailed Denise and said, interested in your internship. And I met her the next day and started the day after that.
Wow. You must have really impressed her at your interview.
Well, just an internship. So,
Yeah.
But it was so cool to walk in and meet her and leave with. It was cool. I left with CDs. I was like, this is so fun. Like, I got free music, and I'm starting an internship tomorrow. So, just reach out to people, and you never know who can help you.
Yeah. So it's just about picking up your stuff and going and just start meeting people.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then what kind of things did you do at this internship, and what do you do now?
Sure. So I still work with Denise now. So the relationship just kept growing. But when I started, I had no idea what management was. Mm-hmm. So I came here, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know really anything about music business either. And so I really just, I sat on the floor, I sat on the couch, I sat wherever I could listen to people's conversations in the office just to learn. And it started out with me filling merch orders for a new CD release, and then turned into me doing website edits, and turned into me creating emails, and just doing more and more where I saw fit. Mm-hmm. And then a few months later, Denise hired me part-time, and now I work with her full-time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What did you get your degree in?
So I studied piano performance and music technology.
Huh. So how did you learn all these marketing skills? Just what did you do to learn all that stuff?
Well, so music technology. So I was in the studio learning, recording, and I got to my senior year and was like, well, I don't think there's going to be any studio that wants a 21-year-old girl to come help. So my professor also was very good at coding. So I said, can I focus my senior project on building a website? So that's what I did, and I put my piano performance videos and recordings and some of my design work on this website that I built.
So the website you have now, you coded that yourself? You built it yourself?
Mm-hmm. But the one I did in college was completely code from scratch.
Wow.
So that last year, even though my degree is music technology, I really focused on web coding. Mm-hmm. And that's how I got into that.
Knowing those kinds of skills, definitely probably opened up some doors for you too, because you have more to bring to the table.
Definitely. So that's kind of where I saw myself fit in when I did management. Even though web design isn't really a management type thing, I saw that the client needed that, and that's kind of where I stepped in and kind of built my own path that way. Okay.
What do you see like a lot of clients needing? I feel like a lot of artists kind of need that marketing side, web design side, and book shows for them pretty much, right?
Yeah. Even since I've been in Nashville since 2011, what people need changes all the time. Mm-hmm. So when I started in 2011, the client's website was, you had to pay like $45 an hour for someone to change the website. I was like, well, I could do this. Like, just let me in the back end. And they're like, oh, we can't do that. And now it's like the artists want full control of their websites. And so I guess to answer your question, what do people need? People need to know how to do that. Right. And they need access to that. So I kind of like to step in and help people learn those things.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. And do you do all your own graphic design stuff too? Or?
I do. Mm-hmm.
That's great. So you know how to build websites, design graphics, and know how to promote an artist. So let's talk about that. You have your own business too, right? Designing the Row. What is that all about?
Sure. So Designing the Row, it's named after like Music Row, so designing for Music Row. Nice. So it really was a tagline for my blog. Okay. And then people really caught on to the tagline, so I kind of spun it off. And when I started offering web design services and marketing services, I named the business Designing the Row. That's
cool. I like the name. It fits really well, especially with being in Nashville.
Yeah. So I really just kind of dug in beginning of this year, 2016, and going for it and doing whatever I can to help artists promote themselves online.
That's awesome. Well, speaking of that, you just released your first book called Market Your Music Online, a workbook for musicians.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that book and your goals with this book. Is this your first book?
It is. The book really is a compilation of things that I created while I was at the management company. So like I said, I had no idea what I was doing when I started, so I just make checklists to make sure I was doing the right things. And then I realized 5 years later I have this whole pile of checklists that could help other people too. So I put them all together, and the first edition, I guess you could call it, was just the checklist. And then I gave it to a few people, and they didn't really know what to do with it. So then I added some words to explain how and why to use the checklist that I had created. So my goal is just to help people be accessible to people, to help them market their music without having to pay high fees to have someone market their music.
Right. Well, especially for an artist starting out. I mean,
Yeah.
because the book is great. Like I love like how it flows, and it's like,
Thank you.
like I love the fact that it's like a workbook. So as you're reading it, you can literally like work on like projects as you're going. So it's really cool because like artists don't have the money to be able to afford a marketing person full time, and this book is a really great resource. Do you have plans on releasing other books, or what's
I
the
do.
next? Yeah.
One about making your own website.
Okay.
I'm realizing that's hard to put into words on paper, but
Right.
I like workbooks like that. And if I can share my knowledge with people at an easy resource, then why not?
Yeah, that's awesome. So building your own website, so is that going to be kind of like a beginner's guide to coding, or are you going to show people how to use a WordPress site or Squarespace? What's the...
So I use Squarespace, so it'll pretty much be step by step on how to get a specific end result. So everybody's end result would be the same, but the goal is to be able to get you familiar with Squarespace and my strategy for musicians, so that you could then tweak it to make it your own.
Okay, awesome. And then what else do you offer for musicians? Because you have your own blog, you do workshops in Nashville. What else? Other resources do you have out there?
Yeah, I also have an e-course online.
Okay.
So you sign up, and it's 5 days of free emails, and it's just my favorite tips on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram, just to kind of get you, make sure you're on the right path.
Okay. And where can people get the book? The book's on designingtheroad.com?
They're actually both on KathrynForbes.com.
KathrynForbes.com. Okay.
Yes.
Do you have any kind of, not to give away any tips from the book, but do you have a tip you can share with those listening about how to promote themselves on social media?
Let's see. Be consistent, I guess, is my number one tip. Because if you post one day, it might be a great post, but if you don't consistently post, then nobody will ever see your stuff. So be consistent. People like to be able to predict what you're going to do next.
Okay. And what makes something a great post?
A great post. To be authentic, which I guess is kind of becoming an overused word now. But be yourself. Don't try too hard. And remember why you're doing music in the first place, and just come from there.
Yeah. What's your favorite platform to use?
Mine, well, I guess Instagram.
Instagram. I love Instagram.
Yeah, that's how we met.
Yeah, that's how we met. Yeah. So like the big thing about, I mean, you talk about this in your book too, is about engagement is a big thing. I mean, the key word is social media. It's to be social, not promotion media. So like, yeah, it's just about like engaging people, creating conversation, and connecting with people, right?
Yeah. Don't talk at people. Like you said, it's about being social. See who can get to respond, and people want to follow you and want to be a part of what you're doing. So talk to them.
Yeah.
Ask them to reply.
Yeah, exactly. That's cool. What are some hurdles and obstacles you had to overcome in your career and your experience so far?
I guess trying to stand out. I mean, the entertainment business is so, I guess, I don't know if flashy is the right word to use, but there's so many people doing big things that trying to start out, it's intimidating.
Right.
So I'm just trying to stick to what I know and the best that I can do, and help as many people as possible.
Okay, cool. What advice would you give to like the person graduating this month on how to get started in this business?
I guess ask yourself what you're best at and what do you want to do every day, and go for it. I guess I honestly didn't know what I wanted to do when I graduated. I just know I wanted to do music. So it might take some time to figure that out, but that's okay. just stay on the path and keep going for it.
Yeah, absolutely. When you wrote your book, what was your writing process like? Was it literally just collecting notes? I mean, or like how did you put together like the outline, the story for your book? What did that look like?
Well, I literally just took a couple Google Docs
Mm-hmm.
and put them all into one Google Doc. And then I guess I organized it in a way that would make sense chronologically,
Mm-hmm.
and added some descriptions before each workbook section, I guess you can call it. So it wasn't, I mean, I'm not a writer. I've never been a writer. I'm not even a reader. So for me to write a book is still really weird to me. But it was just a bunch of checklists that I'd put together in Google Docs that I kind of wiped clean and put together.
Nice. Do you have a goal of eventually like getting your book distributed by a publishing company? Because you self-released this one, right?
Right.
And then what's the goals with as far as distribution goes and publishing goes?
I honestly have no idea, but when you reached out and said, I'd love to use this for my class, I was like, well, that's pretty cool. I didn't even think about that. It really was a resource that when I started, I wanted to use it at live workshops.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone said, well, don't limit yourself to workshops. You should see who else will buy this.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
it's kind of a work in progress right now. But yeah, I'd love to distribute it wider than just myself.
Yeah, I think you should. I think it's a really cool book. It flows really well, and maybe once you have your second edition ready, I don't know, maybe that's the one that gets put on bookshelves around the country.
Definitely. I might start with some local shops in Nashville and see how that goes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything I can do to help in Orlando, I'd be more than happy to. Let's see. So I'm going to get into the artist development questions.
Okay.
What does artist development mean to you, and what all goes into that?
Oh boy, that's a loaded question.
It is.
I think it means something different for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree.
But just developing and building, building consistently with not an end goal in mind, but with goals in mind.
So there's many like perceptions of artist development. Like, is it a marketing thing? Is it a content thing? Is it a touring thing? Is it an image thing? Like, what is it? I guess with the management company you work with and your experience from working with artists, like what does it mean to you? What pieces that you work on developing an artist?
I mean, I guess it's all of those combined, but my favorite parts to work on are the marketing and the content.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the question is what kind of content can you make to stand out, and what can you do to be different and stand out, and how can that propel your career?
Mm-hmm. What are some examples of content that you would create for an artist or ask them to create for themselves?
I mean, videos are a hot thing right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, I do lots of graphics, so like for touring, graphics, posters, but I guess that's not really artist development.
Well, I mean, like having well-designed and branded
Yeah.
posters, right? And
I
consistent
think
with your...
creating a consistent image is my most important goal for artists when I work with them.
What are some types of videos that they can put out besides like their own music videos that you feel work really well?
Yeah, like behind the scenes, like doing a Facebook Live, like here I am walking into backstage to do sound check,
Right.
and just letting people into your life
Yeah.
behind the scenes.
Yeah, people love that behind the scenes stuff.
For sure.
I saw a stat. I mean, you see it with Snapchat and Facebook Live and everything like that. Most of the media now being consumed is video.
For sure.
So what can an artist do to kind of stack the odds in their favor when it comes to artist development if they don't have a team yet?
That's kind of what my workbook is about. Like here are
Buy the workbook.
here are my favorite things that you can do on your own without a team.
Mm-hmm.
So whether that's knowing like little tips and tricks about YouTube and how to once you make that video, how to share it, and how to like hashtags. Like you and I connected on hashtags. How to use hashtags to connect with people.
Hashtag culture is real. It works.
It's real.
I'm not even that cool, and it's working for me.
Definitely.
Let's see. What are some common mistakes that you see artists make when it comes to artist development?
I guess trying to do everything all at once. I'd say make a plan first before you just throw things out there. A consistent plan is always greater than random. I'm going to do a Facebook video today, and maybe I'll try Snapchat tomorrow. And
Right.
let me see if Instagram will work. You have to be consistent at something for long enough for it to work. You can't do it once and expect it to work.
Yeah. And the key thing I'm hearing you say, and I hear a lot of people say, is consistency. I mean, when it comes to marketing and playing shows, whatever it is, like, you can't just play a show and market yourself one time and just like don't do it again for a month. Like,
right.
You got to work hard.
Yeah, and just because people didn't come out the first time doesn't mean they don't want to.
Right. Yeah, and exactly. Just because they didn't come out the first time doesn't mean they didn't notice.
Right.
Like if you promote a show really well, people are going to ask you about it later on. Hey, how'd the show go? Like, when are you playing next? What are some challenges you've encountered when working with artists?
Challenges. I guess the biggest challenge is maybe, I don't know if this is the right way to say it, being on the same page. If I want something more than they want it for themselves, I find that a lot because the artists have so much to focus on that I might be so focused on sending out an email because I know it's important for their marketing, but that's probably the last thing on their mind. So getting my agenda across and letting them know that it's important is probably one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah. I mean, like just learning about the business in general, right? Because like an artist, every artist is like a small business, but a lot of artists aren't very business-minded.
Right.
So it can be tough when you are business-minded and try to bring a plan and they just aren't willing to see the plan.
For sure.
You can't want their career for them. They have to want it for themselves.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest challenge that I've faced in the past few months.
Yeah. What are some things that students? So you've been in the industry for 5 years now, right? And you came here pretty much straight out of college.
I did, like the day after I graduated.
The day after you graduated. So being 5 years in, what have you seen are some useful tools that students should know to be able to use when they graduate college?
I guess this might not be a tool, but some advice would be to just keep your eye on stuff before you graduate. See if you can figure out what's out there so that when you do graduate, you know kind of where to go. Like read blogs, listen to podcasts like this one, read books, just follow your favorite artists and see what they're doing. Just kind of watch intentionally to see what's happening so that when you do graduate and you're ready to get a job, you know what's going on.
Right. So your day's probably going to come soon where you're going to hire someone.
Yes.
What are some things so if someone's going to school for music business or entertainment business, like a specific degree, what would you like to see them already know when they graduate?
Well, I met this girl one time and she, like I said earlier, she just reached out to me because she thought what I was doing was cool. And she was only a sophomore in college. So to me that already said, well, wow, you're already on your A game. I wish I did that when I was a sophomore in college. But she's interning. She interned at a company that I kind of have a girl crush on. So it's like, if you get experience, I mean, that's what people want. Was that answer to your question?
Yeah, so get the experience early, pretty much, as early as you can.
Yeah.
Tell me about an app or you've recently discovered that you think people should be using.
Buffer.
Buffer. What's Buffer all about?
So it's not a new app, but I recently started using it when I had more than 2 clients to manage their social media. It's a social media scheduling app. Okay. I guess I use it more on my desktop, but it's also an app. So I hook up everybody's Facebook, everybody's Twitter, and Instagram. You can even use it for Pinterest. So it can optimize the best times for each platform. Okay. And then you schedule your posts as far in advance as you want. So I sit down for an hour and schedule out posts for a week. So then I don't have to think about social media for a week.
For a week.
Well, I do, but
right.
for that
think
purpose.
about it all the time.
Yeah, for that purpose. So that's been a game changer for me, is using Buffer. Definitely.
And then you kind of use that to kind of schedule, I guess, the main important posts, but then you see you always still engage in social media outside of that, the more personal engagement stuff. So what's the difference between what you schedule and what you don't schedule?
Right, so for Buffer, it's pretty easy. I pull up the tour schedule, and so on Twitter, I'll say, look, we're going to Roanoke tomorrow. I'll see you there. And then the next morning I'll schedule a post that says, good morning, Roanoke, who else is here? So just kind of like mimicking real time, but ahead of time.
Yeah, okay.
So then,
and those are also like personalized though. They're not just like we're playing
Right.
this venue. Like,
Here's a link to our tickets. So when you schedule it ahead of time, then you have time in real time to respond. So that really helps.
Yeah.
And then for my personal stuff, I'll schedule some things, but mostly my personal stuff is real time.
Real time?
Yeah.
Okay. What about, I see some artists, they will post the exact same thing on every platform, which I think is a big taboo, but what are your thoughts on posting the same content on every platform?
I think like when people post on Facebook and it pushes to their Twitter, that to me that looks lazy. That's like literally the same content.
Right.
But I think, I mean, you need to mix it up. Even if you're posting the same, like I have a show tomorrow, you need to use a little bit different wording, at least, and put a different picture on each one, or just change it up to give them a reason to follow you on both platforms.
Right, because if you're posting the same thing, why should they even follow you?
Exactly.
Yeah, very good point. I'm not sure if this is going to apply to you. This is a little off-topic question. It was one of my go-to questions. So I'm a big proponent of health, especially in the music industry, because you can get caught up working. I mean, if you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, what everyone tells you to do is you're working tireless amounts of hours all day long, and you forget to take care of yourself. Do you have any fitness regimens or anything that you do to take care of yourself to be able to perform better at the workday? Or if not, then do you wish you did something, and what would it be?
I do. Like the past 2 weeks, I admit I haven't been doing much to take care of myself, but I do like to work out. I like to run. I like Pilates. Been trying to drink more water lately. Okay. But definitely that, and stretching, and I think taking care of yourself is, I mean, when I run in the morning, I have such a better work day.
Yeah, right?
So I know it's important. It's just finding the time to do that.
Right. I mean, continues remembering is like, man, like when I make the time for it, it's like my work day, like you said, it's
so
better.
Much better.
It's
yeah.
more efficient. Yeah, it's so important to take care of your own health. What is a piece of media that you share the most to get with people? It can be a book, a podcast, a video, an article. So example, I share the article by Kevin Kelly, 1,000 True Fans, the most with people. What is something that you share the most?
Something I share the most. Lately, I've been sharing a lot of my friend Sarah Spencer's stuff.
Okay.
She just released a free online resource for songwriters.
For songwriters?
And I love sharing her stuff.
Okay.
So go check her out. She's at songfancy.com.
Songfancy.com. And is it, what is it about? Is it like how to get your music licensed, or
more about the songwriting process.
About the process, okay.
So I'm not a songwriter, so I can't really speak to it, but I mean, she's got everything you need, and I personally have never seen anything like it out there as a resource.
I mean, it kind of goes into artist development, right? I mean, you just because you're a songwriter doesn't mean you're a great songwriter yet. Like, you're gonna have to sharpen and then strengthen your skills by learning from others.
Right, and she seems to have that down.
Yeah, awesome. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
I'll have show notes with the podcast too, so I'll share that in the show notes. What is your definition of making it?
Making it. So I've been thinking about this for a few
You knew
days.
it was coming.
I knew it was coming. And I think my answer is pretty short. It's just loving what you do every day. But that looks different for everybody. So for me, it's being creative and doing something different every day. So that's my short answer to your question.
Okay. Love what you do every day. What advice would you give to someone that they can do today to get one step closer to making it in their journey?
Write your goals down.
Write your goals down?
Yes. I have all these ideas in my head all the time. But I find when I write them down, it just seems like something I can reach and something more concrete that I'm actually trying to do rather than just thoughts going through my mind at midnight. So writing down your goals, it's been something I've been trying to do for the past 5 years, and it's seemed to help.
Nice. Do you write your goals down every day? Like
I do. My agenda has a top 3 for the day little section. So every day I write down my top 3, what I'm going to get done. Because if you focus on the long to-do list, it seems overwhelming. But if you write down your top 3, you feel accomplished, and it just feels good to know that you did your most important things every day.
Right. That's cool. And then do you have weekly and monthly goals too?
Yes.
Are those 3 main goals every day, kind of working towards a longer term goal as well?
Right. So I mean, right now I have like goals for the year and then 5-year goals.
5-year goals.
So
I don't even know what I'm doing next month.
Just write them down.
Yeah,
See what
that's
happens.
what you need to start doing.
Yeah.
It's such a good point because like a lot of podcasts and things I listen to, or like successful people that I listen to, they always talk about writing down your goals every day. It's something that I procrastinate on a little bit. I could do it definitely much better in, but it seems like you've really noticed the difference it makes by writing them down every day.
I think so. When I graduated, my piano professor gave me a book that I would misquote the percentage, but she said, the book said, percentage of people who write down their goals make 98% of the money or something like that.
Huh.
That's totally not what the quote is, but
if
you write down your goals, you'll see success.
Yeah, That's good. So a question I usually ask is, what makes you feel fulfilled?
When I can end the day happy with relationships and just on a positive note, that makes me fulfilled.
You know, I feel like making it is more about feeling fulfilled and doing things that you love and that you enjoy, and also having time for the people that you love.
Yeah, and if it lifts you up, then go for it. And if you're doing something for fame or money, then it sounds good, but at the end of the day, it doesn't feel good.
Right. Do you know about the 51-49 rule, like giving 51% of times and taking 49% of times? So it's like, it seems like kind of like what you're doing. Like the more you give, the more you kind of get back.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that, but I like it.
Yeah. So yeah, give more than you take.
Yeah.
Do you have any last words of guidance or wisdom that you like to share with everyone?
I think kind of just what you said. The more you give, the more you get. People notice when you give more than you ask for. So in business and life and friendships, it kind of applies to everything.
Yeah, totally. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
My websites, I have two. KathrynForbes.com is where you can find my blog and free resources. And designingtherow.com is more business services and portfolio. But my handles across all social media is at Designing the Row.
At Designing the Row.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then favorite platform is Instagram. So connect there and get the book, market your music online.
Well, thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thanks so much for doing this, and congrats on all your accomplishments already. Definitely a very inspiring story for all the students, trying to have a career in the music industry.
Well, thanks, and glad to have you here in Nashville.
Yeah, love it.
Awesome.
Thanks. Hey everyone, I hope y'all enjoyed this week's episode and interview with Katherine Forbes. She had a lot of great information and insight to share with you guys, as all of our guests do every week. So I want to thank you guys for subscribing and for coming back and listening. I hope y'all learned a lot from this podcast and all the episodes we bring you guys each and every week. And before we go, I want to share this week's iTunes review of the week. So this one is by Herb Gonzalez. What's up, Herb? So the title is So Much Shared Knowledge. Been waiting for this podcast to finally come out, and it's definitely surpassed my expectations. Very entertaining. Thanks so much, Herb, for that review. Thanks for everyone that has taken the time to subscribe, leaving your 5-star reviews. It definitely helps us so much. It helps bring in more and more guests, bring more stories to you guys, and helps us keep bringing this podcast to you absolutely for free. It's available on iTunes or wherever podcasts live. And we'd love for you guys to get in touch with me. If you have any questions or any types of guests you'd like to hear from, you can reach me at chris@onelivemusic.org. That's Chris, CHRIS, at ONE live, LIVE, music.org. Or you can reach me on Twitter or the Instagram. I'm at Chris Goyzueta everywhere. That's CHRISGOYZUETA. We're going to continue with our Nashville series next week. Next week, we will have an interview with an entertainment business attorney, Matt Cottingham. That's going to be a really good one. So thank you all for listening. I hope to see you again next week on Making It with Chris G. Remember, try new things, be good to people, and in the words of the great Bob Marley, live the life you love. Peace.